Caress the mind and question justifying where you and God and time are best aligned. Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing.
You are listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and chief White House correspondent. I'm in touch until you be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ, and there I am. I pop right on up. Also, download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or simply tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580. And there we are. Subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast and never miss an episode. It's chilly outside. Have y'all been outside today? Well, if you're in Washington, D.C., where I'm at, it's like 25 degrees outside. Yikes. If you are in the South, be prepared for an unprecedented blizzard. That's a blizzard warning that is making its way across the South. A number of places that aren't used to getting blizzards are now on high alert for blizzards. And so be careful out there. And then, of course, gusty winds in the West. So for everybody that is still monitoring the wildfires throughout LA, be warned that people are also needing to be watchful what's happening in Ventura County and also San Diego County. And so everybody be careful out there, be vigilant. Climate change is real. I don't know how many more examples we need to see. But now it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. And kicking us off, CBS News is reporting that President Trump announces up to $500 billion in private sector AI infrastructure investment. In my view, this is one of the biggest headlines today. I know a lot of media outlets are talking about the president's executive orders. And don't get me wrong, a lot of those orders, are going to cause a lot of heartburn and make people's lives quite difficult in many cases. But this right here, this infrastructure project right here, this is probably one of the most consequential actions he's taken since becoming president. Mark my words. President Trump announced today that billions of dollars in private sector investment to build artificial intelligence infrastructure in the United States. OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle are planning a joint venture called Stargate. SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son, he joined President Trump for the announcement, along with Sam Altman of OpenAI and Larry Ellison of Oracle. Executives from the companies are expected to commit $500 billion into Stargate over the next 4 years. Details of the new partnership were not immediately provided, but in the briefing, and I watched quite a bit of it live, Ellison said that 10 data centers for the project were already under construction in Texas, and that more were planned. Sources previously told a number of outlets that Stargate would start with a data center project in Texas and eventually expand to other states. President Trump alleged that the venture would create over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately. He said he thinks that this will be the most important project of this era. That's what Sam Altman said. The three executives touted what they believe would be the ability of AI to address healthcare issues. And other investors are expected to join the venture, but it's not immediately clear which ones. So when President Trump talks about this being a golden age for America, this is one of the crowning projects that he believes is going to usher in this golden age. I think one thing to pay attention to is these partners that are putting $500 billion in. Well, has anybody stopped and asked, what's the economic impact of these data centers? What's the feasibility of putting up these data centers? What sort of AI ethics will they employ as they invest in these super AI centers? These are all very important questions. When we're building physical infrastructure, folks have to answer these questions in order to get the necessary approvals. It wasn't clear to me in today's press conference what the answers to those questions are, but you better believe we're going to be on it in order to figure that out for you. Moving along, Axios is reporting that OpenAI product chief says that the world is on the verge of AI agents. That's right, humanity. Humanity itself is on the verge of having AI agents that can complete tasks in the real world. That's what OpenAI product chief Kevin Weil told Axios recently. Well, you may be wondering, okay, that's great. Why does this matter? Well, Weil's predictions come just days after Axios reported that a major AI company was close to announcing a breakthrough regarding a creation of a PhD level AI super agent capable of completing complex tasks. What is he saying? Well, he says he thinks that 2025 is the year that we go from Chat GPT being the super smart thing that can answer any question you ask to Chat GPT doing things in the real world for you. The advanced reasoning skills of the new AI models and improved ability to be multimodal and engage with humans will be key to this ability. He predicted that likely as soon as this year, AI agents will be able to do tasks like filling out forms or making restaurant reservations. So this AI thing, this is not, RoboCop stuff. This ain't no Back to the Future stuff. Like, this is even well beyond that. And we should absolutely be paying attention to what this means in terms of the displacement of workers. What does this mean for folks in certain industries? What does it mean in terms of mitigating any bias that this technology might have? If the programmers have bias, then why wouldn't the technology also have bias? And so these are all very important questions that, again, we want to continue to keep our finger on the pulse of. Moving along, New York Times reporting that not one, not two, not five, not 10, but 22 states are suing to stop Trump's birthright citizenship order. Attorney generals from 22 states sued President Trump in 2 federal district courts today to block an executive order that refuses to recognize the U.S.-born children of unauthorized immigrants as citizens. This is the opening salvo in what promises to be a long legal battle over the Trump administration's immigration policies. We know that 18 states and 2 cities, San Francisco and Washington, D.C., challenged the order in federal court in Massachusetts, arguing that birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment is automatic and that neither the president nor Congress has the constitutional authority to revise it. For 4 other states filed a second lawsuit in the Western District of Washington. Mr. Trump's attempt to limit birthright citizenship was extraordinary and extreme. That's what the New Jersey Attorney General said. And Nick Brown, the Attorney General in Washington, said that Mr. Trump's order would deny citizenship to 150,000 newborn children each year. And so it's easier to sign an executive order. It's harder to defend the constitutionality of an executive order like this that really challenges the 14th Amendment. And so game on. When we come forward, we'll be joined with Mike Madrid. He's an author and veteran American political consultant. He's one of the country's authoritative experts on Latino voters. He's also co-founder of the Lincoln Project, and he will be right here with us to read the political tea leaves on this birthright citizenship order and more. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has a program specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to resolve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach, transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal, prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
We have no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Only permanent interests as we effort to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and really delighted to be in conversation with an old friend, Mike Madrid. He is a political legend in California and beyond. If you don't know Mike Madrid, by the time we're finished with him, you may even want to hire him. Mike Madrid is the author and veteran American political consultant. He's one of the country's authoritative experts on Latino voters and co-founder of the Lincoln Project. Welcome to the show, Mike.
It's so great to be with you. It's been a while since we've talked, and it's an honor to be here. So thank you for having me.
Well, you know, it's great to have you here, and to help us sort of read the political tea leaves. Just before the break, I was talking about how 18 states, now up to 22 states, are suing to stop Trump's birthright citizenship order. He has been president of the United States for about 24 hours, and it seems that this is the story that attorney generals across the country are focusing in on. There have been almost 200 executive orders that have been signed thus far, but this seems to be the order that is catching their attention. Should it be?
Well, I mean, there's going to be many ways to attack this. And let me start broadly by saying there's a very good chance that Trump just had the best day of his presidency in terms of public opinion, because a lot of what he has put forth, even though he promised it, and we should take him seriously, it's going to erode his support levels amongst the public. This is just not an agenda. Some are popular, but most of this is not. And when we start getting to the abstract promises, Donald Trump isn't a serious guy, we like his tone, we like his attitude, to becoming more existential and real, that abstract movement to the real is when public support begins to erode. But you asked the right question, which is, should this be the area of focus? And one of the main reasons why it is because it is so clearly inviolate of the explicit language in the amendment it's seeking to overturn. It's just frankly one of the easiest to defend. Now, the courts being what the courts are today, who knows what that actually means? But what I will say is, look, the reason why we passed this amendment was in the Reconstruction era after the Civil War, when there was an attempt to delegitimize the sons and daughters of slaves as American citizens. That's why we passed it. That's why that language is in the Constitution. It didn't start at our beginning. It started to correct some wrongs and some attempts to undo people who legitimately had a right to the bounty of what American citizenship, at least in theory, is supposed to be. So the language is very explicit, and filing this and getting others to file amicus is not going to be difficult. I'm clearly, we're up to 22. If the court is anywhere near doing something objective and constitutional, overturning this is a very simple act. The executive orders make no constitutional sense, none.
I've got to ask you, why did Trump decide to pick this fight right away? I mean, again, he's been president for barely 24 hours. Does he know that the constitutionality of this EO is on shaky ground at best? And so is he ready for sort of all-out battle in the courts over this over the course of the next at least couple years?
I think the short answer is yes. I don't think he views this necessarily as a front in the courts, although he stands on stronger ground there than he has in the past. What he's doing is kind of a blitzkrieg attack strategy, which is attack on all fronts simultaneously and allow the opposition to try to defend everything simultaneously. He's running offense. This is all offensive. And so the more offense he can run, the greater the likelihood of not only winning on the policy that he's trying to implement, but he starts to win the narrative and dispirit his opposition. That's really what the goal is here. It's a social, it's beyond politics. It's about socially dispiriting his opposition and using the fear tactic to drive the narrative of what's happening and appear to be inevitable, this sort of, command and control sort of presidency. But I don't know that it will be successful. We'll have to wait and see how the American public responds. What I will say is this, on this issue specifically, birthright citizenship, it actually, as somebody who's been polling this for the better part of 30 years, this is not a new idea, incidentally. This in California, we've had a number of Republican members of Congress introducing this and talking about this for 3 decades now, early 1990s. And it actually does poll quite positively until people understand what the implications of it are. That's when it begins to erode. People kind of go, well, yeah, maybe people shouldn't. If your parents are here undocumented, maybe you shouldn't be just automatically given citizenship. That kind of makes sense. Until they understand the history of it and why it's there. That's why I began this diatribe with that. That's when support starts to come back and people realize, oh, okay. There have been abuses of this, no question. In the last decade, a lot of very wealthy Chinese would send over their spouses that were 8 months pregnant, rent a house for a month, have a child here, get citizenship, and then return to China. El Chapo's children, the drug cartel lord, snuck his daughter in pregnant to become a U.S. citizen and have his grandchildren and children become U.S. citizens through this process. So there are practical challenges with it, but by and large, this is very clearly on constitutional grounds, something that has been challenged since it was adopted. It was written for a very specific purpose, very specific, very tightly written, and I think it will probably hold up constitutionally, legally. The fight, as you correctly point out, will probably be over in the court of public opinion.
And so, who in the Trump coalition, who in the MAGA movement, or even beyond the MAGA movement, is really celebrating this? Because as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, the coalition that helped to elect Trump is a little bit of a motley crew, right? It's not just the MAGA folks, but there were, some, Democrats, that voted for Trump. We saw one of the co-founders of Airbnb, come clean recently, saying that, he had given money to the Harris campaign, but ultimately voted for Trump. And so this isn't just the MAGA crowd anymore, but it's sort of MAGA plus. And so talk to us about the dangers of doing too much too quickly on an issue like immigration.
That's such the perfect question for the moment. And what I've been counseling people on this issue is, as this fight begins essentially yesterday and will unfold over the coming weeks, it's not that either side is necessarily going to win, but one side is definitely going to lose. And let me explain what that means. As somebody who's been involved in immigration politics for, again, 30 years, both sides will have a very strong tendency to overplay their hand. And whichever side overplays that hand first is going to lose. They're going to lose in the court of public opinion. So if Donald Trump does immediately go to mass deportations, if he starts ripping children from the arms of their mothers, if he's going in and raiding workforce places and removing people that have been essentially pillars of their community for 20, 25 years in this country, paying taxes and getting little or no benefits, as a result, he's going to lose. In 2018, we saw the highest Latino turnout in history with the strongest anti-Republican vote break in history. That was when the Democrats swept every seat in Orange County. They picked up the Central Valley seat, David Valadeo's seat. That's a very likely possibility if Trump overplays his hand. If, however, he begins this process and starts with gang members from Venezuela, people who do have criminal records, people who are indefensible, that are here that should not be here, and the Democrats respond by trying to defend and protect those people, they will lose, I think, precipitously. So this is a very narrow path for both sides, and both sides have a very strong history and tendency of overplaying their hand in the court of public opinion on this. The American people are very judicious about this. They want border security, but they don't want inhumane policies. They don't want to see families broken up. The truth of the matter is, economically, we need a lot more immigration, not less. We need more immigrants. We need a pathway to citizenship. The American people are strongly there. But if the Democrats cross over into this protecting other criminals, otherwise criminals, or the Republicans go into cracking down and persecuting people that are otherwise law-abiding, that's where that side's going to lose.
So, Mike, what does this mean legislatively? Let's move from the White House down Pennsylvania Avenue to Capitol Hill. We know that Republicans have a grip on both houses of Congress, but we know that particularly in the House, very slim margins. Very slim margins. Can't afford to lose more than a couple Republicans to get anything through. And so, talk to us about how all the bluster around immigration at the White House, what does that really mean legislatively in terms of being able to pass a bill on immigration that checks all the boxes that the president lined up on the campaign trail?
Again, another question that's going to be definitive here. This is a little bit different. Again, as somebody who's watched many immigration battles over the decades, the action is going to be in the House. Whatever is able to get out of this slim margin in the House is going to become law. Now, remember the Lankford bill, this controversial bill that was passed essentially by Republicans. Biden jumps onto it late, and then Trump kills it, earlier last year, and it becomes sort of the centerpiece of the campaign. It is now actually official policy of the Democratic Party, the Lankford bill. This is a conservative Republican bill. There is, and again, if you look at the Lake and Riley Act, which was just passed, there are a dozen or so Democrats who are able to support this bill. The challenge is, can you cobble together enough Republicans, especially on the H-1B visa problem? we can probably get to a border security bill with just Republican votes. And for the first time in living memory, border security and immigration reform will be decoupled. The strategy for both parties has always been to couple them together. That has never worked. Since 1986, we have made no progress. 40 years now we're going on. The Trump era, and I don't want to say it's by design, but the politics only allow for them to be handled separately. The irony is, once you get border security done, you engage a whole different coalition of people to support immigration reform. 3 key members, and I'll wrap it up on this because I know time is an issue right now. You bring together the business community to engage for immigration that needs this workforce, skilled and unskilled. You bring the faith-based community, especially the Catholics, who will support strongly immigration plan and a path forward that will have some salience. And third, ironically enough, the national security and law enforcement community is going to push for immigration reform too. 3 key constituencies in the Republican caucus that can probably get something done.
We're going to dig deeper into this. We have Mike Madrid, who is the author of The Latino Century. He's also one of the country's authoritative experts on Latino voters and immigration. When we come forward, I want to talk to you about Trump authorizing ICE to target schools and churches, and also Pope Francis, who congratulated Trump but called mass deportations a disgrace. We're going to dig deeper into these headlines. We're going to read the political tea leaves with Mike Madrid when we come forward. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
About issues related to national politics, elections, identity, culture change, and social justice. You tuned into the right place. A More Perfect Union continues when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. A coalition of 18 states, including Black New York Attorney General Letitia James, are pushing back on President Trump's move to end birthright citizenship. AG James called the executive order an attempt to sow division and fear, while Governor Hochul pledged to defend the constitutional right. Wall Street is closing higher as trading resumed after the Martin Luther King Jr. federal holiday. Stocks advanced in a broad rally as fears eased over President Trump's proposed foreign trade tariffs. President Trump is signing an order requiring federal workers to return to in-office work, a move supported by Black D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser to boost downtown businesses. He also froze federal hiring except for national security, military, and public safety roles. And Black Birmingham Mayor Randall Woodfin's memoir, Son of Birmingham, details his rise from bagger to the city's youngest mayor, his loss to gun violence, Birmingham's crime challenges, and the success of the Birmingham Promise Initiative. I'm Amber Payton on the Black Information Network, your home for Black News First.
Burbank on the 5, making your way northbound. That drive is slow moving, getting away from Hollywood Way. You're on the brakes ahead all the way to the 14, southbound 5, slowing also out of Burbank from Olive all the way to the 605 freeway. It's tough along the 10 eastbound out of City Terrace from City Terrace Drive and stretches to Azusa. Pasadena loads up 210 eastbound from Lincoln to Citrus. And it's crawling along in Irvine, 405 northbound, leaving the 133 freeway to the 55, crowded ahead to Brookhurst.
Let Express Employment Professionals help you hire for contract or full-time jobs. Forget about recruiting, sifting through resumes, and interviews with unqualified applicants. Go to expresspros.com to find the location near you. That's expresspros.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
NCAA Division I college football remains one of the few frontiers in sports where African Americans have not reached a historic milestone. Notre Dame's loss to Ohio State Monday night in the national title game prevented Notre Dame coach Marcus Freeman from becoming the first Black coach to win a Division I championship in football. No worries, this milestone is well within reach. Freeman is only 39, and Notre Dame gave him a 6-year contract extension in December that will keep him in South Bend through the year 2030. Freeman made an outstanding impression during the season and has become a rising star in the coaching fraternity. Notre Dame came up short against Ohio State, but a lot of parents around the country saw Freeman as a coach they want their kids to play for. Freeman and Notre Dame will be contenders next season. It's only a matter of time before history breaks down the door in college football. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcasts of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your black. Follow the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up, Oscar!
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick. And it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And when you need more comfort for yourself, try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors. Use as directed. Vapo Stick for use ages 4 and up. Vapo Shower Max use for adults only.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hit me!
National news of consequence, informed opinion, and
analysis beyond the headlines.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and he is the Mike Madrid, the legendary Mike Madrid. I know, he's blushing. He is the author of The Latino Century. He's also a sought-out authoritative expert on Latino voters and immigration. He's also co-founder of the Lincoln Project. There's nothing that Mike Madrid can't do. But President Trump is, on the other hand, is attempting to do something that so many folks found unconscionable. He has authorized ICE to target schools and churches. ABC News is reporting that federal immigration authorities will be permitted to target schools and churches after President Trump revoked a directive barring arrest in so-called sensitive areas. The Department of Homeland Security announced this just today, that it would roll back the policy to thwart law enforcement in or near so-called sensitive areas. Mike, help us understand the politics of this. One of the things you said earlier is that most Americans, they want to see immigration reform. They want to see us enforce our immigration laws, but they're not into seeing those laws enforced in any sort of cruel way. They're not into seeing kids snatched away from their parents, or in this case, perhaps fearing to go to school or church. Talk to us about the politics of this ratcheting up of Homeland Security, particularly ICE.
It hurts my stomach to talk about, but we have to. This is exactly what I was mentioning and talking about when I was saying whoever overplays their hand in Trump's inability to be measured on policy that the American people want. When you start going into classrooms and houses of worship, the American people are not going to tolerate that very long. It is literally biblical. At least in Christianity, right? The idea that the refugee, the stranger, is somebody that you give shelter and comfort and welcome. Like literally, this is the moment that there's biblical references that have lasted thousands of years that we have presumably built this country or society on. And I think that this will be the overstepping. And I think Donald Trump enjoys this. He enjoys this chaos. He enjoys this hurt. He enjoys this type of division. The question is, do we have it within us as Americans still to dig deep enough to protect the least among us, to protect the stranger, to protect the refugee? And again, it's not just that he's going through a normal process. He's hunting children in classrooms. He's digging them out of churches. That is not going to play well in the court of public opinion, nor should it.
And not just schools and houses of worship were deemed off limits, but also hospitals, funerals, weddings, public demonstrations, right? And so, this is a ratcheting up. I don't know what other way to look at this. Talk to us about what the message is tonight for parents in families that have mixed immigration status. What's their message to their kids tonight?
My hope is that the message is that there are enough good people of conscience who will stand up in this extraordinarily challenging time. This dark era will pass. It will pass. We may not be the most informed and educated of people, but I believe in our heart we are still a good people. But we are being tested with that at this moment. And one of the when I first joined the Lincoln Project, the meeting of the 8 of us, there was a talk saying we were blessed, we were fortunate to stand up despite all of the destruction and the threats and the threats to our safety and our children's and our families' lives, because we had the benefit of knowing where we would have been at times in history and knowing whether or not you would stand up to do the right thing. It's a question that elementary children are taught day in and day out. Is what would you do in 1930s Germany? What would you do when your neighbors are being rounded up in the internment camps in the 1940s if they're Japanese descent? This is one of those moments, a human moment. And I think there's a calling to all of us to deeply reflect and ask where you want to be and tell your children what you did and what you didn't do and what you said and what you kept quiet about. This is that moment. So to everybody listening, this is that moment. And you can make a difference individually by speaking out, by standing up, by being held for account, by protecting the most vulnerable amongst us. This is that moment.
This is indeed that moment, and this is why we're here. I've got to ask you about what this means in cities, not just in California, but across the country that have proudly called themselves sanctuary cities. States like California that have proudly called themselves sanctuary states. What does this mean in terms of just the whole idea of being a safe space, a safe city that has pledged not to coordinate with federal law enforcement, for people throwing people without papers under the bus? What does this mean in terms of just the concept of and defense of sanctuary cities and sanctuary states?
Look, I think some of these sanctuary cities will buckle and they will cave to pressure. A lot of them are reliant on federal dollars. A lot of this means you're not going to get any federal dollars if you protect the undocumented. I think the university system, our UC system, our CSU system has made public proclamations and made it policy to protect the undocumented students on their campus. They are reliant on many, many, many millions of federal dollars that can be shut off immediately, and they probably will be. And so there's going to be a real test of our own mettle as a people. And one of the dangers, and when you brought up the fact that it will be people in hospitals that won't be able to receive services, keep in mind that is designed to have people rat on each other, to tell that people that there's somebody here who's hurt in a hospital in need of help, to call immigration and say, you need to come pick this person up, because the threat is going to be, if you don't, You will jeopardize the federal funding of that hospital. You'll jeopardize the federal funding in that school. You'll jeopardize the federal funding in whatever program that you're engaged or involved in. That is going to, and probably put those people under criminal, liability. If you knew somebody didn't have papers and you didn't say anything, you will become liable. This is designed to turn us on each other. This is literally the specific policy objective as much as it is to deport people. So look, again, this is our dark times, and we're gonna have to rely on each other. And this is a moment where you've got a defining moment of your own individual character. And I think it's going to be difficult for a lot of these sanctuary cities. I think that there's a lot of law enforcement who understands this makes law enforcement worse. If you drive people who are undocumented away from engaging with law enforcement, you lose the ability to fight crime in the street. Most of these immigrants, most of the undocumented, not only don't create problems of a criminal nature, they want to stay as far away from trouble as possible because they don't want to lose their status. We know that the undocumented have a lower percentage rate of engaging in crime than U.S. citizens do. It's safer to be in a community of the undocumented because they don't want any government interference. So all of this is designed, like I said, to turn us on each other at this moment in time.
Mike, in our remaining minutes, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about what this means in terms of, the rebuild effort in places like Los Angeles. Let's not kid ourselves. We know that undocumented workers are a part of our communities and, are a part of our agriculture economy. They're a part of our construction industry. In fact, without them, costs would be so much higher. So talk to us about the collision course between the EO on birthright citizenship and the ratcheting up of ICE at the same time that places like Los Angeles are going to need undocumented workers in order to rebuild and be ready to host the world in just a few years.
It can't be done without them. The rebuild can't be done. You can't have a city, a metropolitan, region the size of Los Angeles prepare for a World Cup, a Olympics, and a Super Bowl without the labor force required to prepare for all three of those. And as you correctly mentioned, you also can't support our agricultural economy. We're already seeing produce being overripened in the fields at this moment. 75% of some orchards have had 75% of the workforce required has disappeared as people have left. The whole entire hospitality industry, the entire undercarriage of our economy, of the service economy, is predicated on this labor force. And both sides have benefited from this. That's the cruel irony, is it's basically human chattel that has moved across the border because industry knows it needs cheap labor, and it's benefited them, and it will continue to benefit them. So there's just so much that's immoral to the whole system. Is you will hear Republicans, and I've heard this for 3 decades now, well, I support legal immigration, but not illegal immigration. Not a single person, and I've known thousands of them that have told me that over the years, but not one person spoke out against Donald Trump's efforts to reduce legal migration in his first term. That will be a proposal again. The idea that this is about legal versus illegal is a complete lie. It is a complete fallacy. It is all designed to keep non-white people out of this country. It's designed to be divisive. It's going to be harmful to our economy, but worse than that, it's going to be harmful to the soul of us as a nation as we dehumanize and subhumanize other people and relish some of their misery.
Mike, in our remaining minute, call me crazy, but it seems to me that the Trump administration might be making a big bet that while undocumented workers represent, to your point, sort of the undercarriage of America's service economy, are they betting that by making unprecedented investments in AI-powered technology and, super AI, are they betting that they can mitigate against the impact of that loss if they just invest more in technology?
I mean, it's a bad bet, mainly because this workforce is not the workforce that AI chatbots can do. We're talking about picking crops. We're talking about swinging hammers. We're talking about digging trenches. It's the service economy can't be replaced too much by AI. I mean, you can take a lot of baristas, I guess, out of Starbucks and automate that. We haven't developed the AI technology yet to build a home unless you do it, I guess, by 3D printer. Maybe that's what we do. I don't know. But what I do know is it would make a lot more sense if those economic pressures were already mitigated by artificial intelligence, then start the process, as opposed to engaging in the process when our immigration levels, illegal immigration levels, are the lowest right now at this moment. The last day of Biden's presidency, they were lower than they were at any time during Donald Trump's presidency. So to say that we need to lower it even further, knowing full well that every one of his major donors is going to be pulling him aside in the back room after these press conferences saying, are you crazy? You're going to destroy our business. You're going to make the cost of food go through the roof, the cost of transportation go through the roof, the cost of construction go through the roof. At the same time, you want to impose a 25% tariff on the Canadians and the Mexicans and 10% more on the Chinese. Like the inflationary cycle would be disastrous. So it's hard to say that he's playing chess. Every time we've presumed he is not. He's just following his gut instincts, and it usually leads to an economic problem.
Our thanks to Mike Madrid. He is the author of The Latino Century. He's also co-founder of the Lincoln Project and a partner over at Grassroots Labs. I always enjoy talking to you. I could talk to you for a whole another bit.
Let's do it again. Let's do it again, friend.
You got to come back again soon. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580, the quiet part out loud when we come forward.
On KBLA Talk 1580.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, friend. Take care.
All right, see you soon.
Bye-bye.
The holidays can be a time of increased stress for those struggling with opioid or stimulant addiction. They can also be a time for pause, reflection, opportunity, and new beginnings. This holiday season, choose treatment and recovery, embrace the company of family and friends, and create special moments. Find a proven opioid or stimulant addiction treatment provider near you at choosechangeca.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers, tastemakers, and you working to build a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and I got to tell you that every day we end the show saying, do what you can from where you are with what you have. Well, Bishop Marion Edgar Budd had something to say at the National Prayer Service to President Trump and Vice President Vance and their family. Take a listen to what she had to say. To call it a profile in courage is the least of what we can say about these remarks. Take a listen. You were just listening to the Bishop Marion Edgar Budd. Marion Edgar Budd over at the National Cathedral. Marion Edgar Budd did not mince words. She had something to say to President Trump as he sat there, again saying that the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals, reminding him and Vice President Vance and their family that they pay taxes and are good neighbors. And she asked the president to have mercy on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away. And so asked a little bit later, back when the president returned to the White House, he was asked about the National Prayer Service, in which case he responded saying, not too exciting, was it? He said, I didn't think it was a good service. No, they can do much better. And so it seems that that appeal for empathy, that appeal for mercy fell on deaf ears. And in a Rolling Stone article, the bishop is quoted saying that, quotes, Trump seeks to dismantle everything I stand for. And she wasn't going to sit there idle, and neither should you. Every day, we all have an audience. We all have an opportunity to sort of speak up and to channel our values peacefully and with strength. And this is what it happened to look like when Bishop Marianne Edgar Budd did exactly that. And so you go out and do what you can from where you are with what you have, but by all means, please do something. That's all the time we have today. My thanks to The Village helps us produce a more perfect union each and every day. Our executive producer, Tabitha Smiley, our sound engineer, Andy, our show producers, Kim and Faraji, and each and every one of you for streaming us and tuning in on the app and everywhere. We appreciate you. And remember, we're in this thing together. A more perfect union, it starts with each and every one of us. It's not out there, but instead it's right here. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and you have been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union. We'll see you tomorrow.
Including the Palisades and Eaton fires, despite strong Santa Ana winds. Black Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton is urging Congress to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy by